Okay, so I'm going to try this again. I've tried this several times today. My live streaming isn't working, but I'm going to talk today about something that's been on my mind the past 48 hours and really every day for the past 2 years, really. But the midterms. I want to talk about the midterms. I want to talk about how Trump is doing in that regard and what he's doing and why he's doing what he's doing. And I want to talk about an experience that happened to me at the polling place yesterday, which was very, very interesting. So, okay, so number one, let me start off with the midterms. So let's do some house cleaning first of all and some groundwork. So the midterms essentially is this. The midterms are elections that happen every 2 years where every House race, congressional House race, is put up for re-election. And 1/3, roughly, of the Senate is put up for re-election. Okay. Typically in prior years, the party that's been in power or the party that won the last presidency typically loses the midterm. It's only happened 3 times where Republicans actually done it, I believe, or whatever. It doesn't happen very often where the party in power keeps power after the following midterm. Okay, so what's happened is that there's something they call the generic ballot. The generic ballot is a poll which basically says, because it's over 400 seats, there's no way to poll people, to basically say, generically speaking, hey guy, would you choose a Democrat or would you choose a Republican given the choice, just whatever. And that's called the generic ballot. And that gives you a picture of what the leanings are of people who are likely to vote. All right, so what we're seeing is, or what we were seeing, was a huge advantage for Democrats. Like I've seen as high as plus 14, meaning that at a percentage rate, 18% more Democrats are favored. 18% more people favor Democrats over Republicans. Okay, good, fine. All right, so, and I have a point for this. The reason why is because the congressional ballot, the congressional poll, as bad as it seems, as bad as it seems for Republicans, what we have to remember is a couple of things. Number one, because President Obama was so unpopular when he came in office in 2008, that year, we saw the rise of something called the Tea Party. The Tea Party energized the conservative base and the Republicans. So much so that across the country, state houses and state Senate seats flipped from being Democrat, flipped to Republican after Obama in 2010 and beyond. North Carolina, where I live, is one of those states. And why am I bringing this up? Why am I bringing up all this ballot poll stuff? Is because in 2010, that was a census year. And whoever controls the General Assembly in a census year gets to choose the redistricting of the precincts in that particular state. And what happens is there's a embedded gerrymandering advantage to whomever is in power. That's just how it is. That's just how it works. So if you want to blame gerrymandering, you can blame Obama for that, especially in this case, because that plus 13 lead that you see in the generic ballot is really more like, or really was like a +6, because up to 7 points is really going to be a tie for Republicans, because Democrats have to make up that difference. Because what you're seeing is districts that are strictly blue are getting bluer, and you see red states that are getting districts that are red are getting redder, and you're seeing, and so the fight is still really for those purple districts. And so even though there's a disadvantage, the Democrats still have an uphill battle to climb because of gerrymandering. So anything above or below a 7 is really very problematic for Democrats. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it. And by the way, I've been out of the loop because of my technological problems I've been having at home. I'm doing a new green screen and some other things and getting new cameras. So we'll see new videos coming up pretty soon. So thanks, Rick, for that. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing that in early voting, we're seeing a huge turnout now for Republicans, which we never saw early voting for Republicans. Typically Republicans vote after they get home from work and the day of election. And Democrats have been using early voting for a long time to, number one, voter fraud, and to two, to discourage Republicans from coming out to vote. Well, we're not seeing that now. What we're seeing is a high enthusiasm. And the reason for this is because of a little guy named Brett Kavanaugh, because when that happened, the whole game changed. So that 13-point lead that we saw before is now even across the generic ballot. And there are still a few scrabbling polls like CNN and whatever, and we'll talk about those in a second. But what we're seeing is that the enthusiasm now for Republicans is such to the point now that that now the issues are now, and the fact is that that district was Democrat for many, many years, but because of Obama's inability to galvanize his base and his ability to make sure that Republicans came out against him, Minnesota has slowly become red over the course of 9 years. And so Minnesota 23, which was a district that the Republicans, that the Democrats were looking to hold, is now an area that they're actually pulling money out of because they can't win it. That's one district. Another district is District 23 in Texas. Texas was a very strong focal point for Democrats to try and take that from Republicans by pushing in illegal immigrants and through voter fraud and through a huge number of Soros money coming in. But what we're finding is, because of the enthusiasm again, that districts, this connection is really not going very well. So what's happening is I'm going in and out. So if the connection fails, hang around and I'll post it later once I do get it working. We can hold. And so the important thing to note here is that with Minnesota 8 going red, the Democrats who need to have 21 pickups in the House to take the House, they're now looking at 22 they're going to have to pick up, because every single race that the Republicans are able to pick up on the Democrat side, the Democrats have to make up 2 extra races to get back on track with their goal. So they need like 21 seats to flip while holding on to all of theirs. And we know with Minnesota 8 that that's not going to happen. So they're going to need at least 22 now. And so I'm thinking right now, where I'm seeing what the numbers are in the polling, that they're not going to be able to pick up the House. I thought before Kavanaugh that they may have a +10 advantage in the House, where the Senate would definitely stay in the hands of Republicans. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. But now I'm thinking at best they may pick up 5 overall, and that's optimistic. So, and now you're even seeing, left now walking back the blue wave. Seeing articles now of the past week saying, well, is it going to crash before it hits the shore? And don't get too excited. And this is that. And so anyway, that's that. And also one more thing I'll say about polls. It's funny also that the 2 most accurate polls of the past. Yeah, exactly. Drain the swamp. And I'm getting to that in a second when I get to Trump, Rick. So it's funny how the 2 most accurate polls of the last 6 to 8 cycles were IDP Tip and Rasmussen. IDP Tip had Trump winning in 2016. They were one of only 2 polls that had it right. I think LA Times had the other one. And Rasmussen has been solid all throughout. They kind of had a hiccup in 2012, but they're pretty much on track now. And both of those polls in generic ballot have it at even. The last Tip poll that I saw, it was +2 Democrat, which really means +7 Republican, and it had it dead even in Rasmussen. So I don't see a blue wave coming. And so there's that. So the second thing I want to talk about is Trump. And I want to talk about him basically in draining the swamp, like Rick just mentioned here on the chat here. But what Trump does, and I alluded to this earlier, what Trump does is he's not an ideologue in the sense that he has to have a certain policy in place to get something done. Trump's the kind of the person where if you have a jigsaw puzzle and the parent holding the box, the parent, whoever's holding the box, okay, there's an apple here, there's a sky here, there's a grass here on the ground, and the puzzle pieces, my son's coming in. And so the puzzle pieces are coming, and the parents trying to tell the child, okay, put that there, put this there, put this there. And of course,
they are done.
You're all done? All right, come here. Say hi to the audience. You're all done? Okay, we're doing a live feed, so you're gonna have to, want you go eat?
Yeah.
You wanna go eat? Okay, why don't you go eat? I'll come back, okay?
Okay.
That's why we're doing this, because of these kids, man. That's why we're doing this. And so I'm going to wrap this up because he needs to get some food. So anyway, really quickly, so with the puzzle on the ground, Trump knows the end result. So he's gearing his moves toward the end of the game where the puzzle piece is done, and we look back and say, oh, that's what you meant. And so what's happening is he allows the Democrats to do exactly what they do, be Democrats. So with DACA, with gun rights, Trump would come out in front of the media and say, hey, this position is here. He'll take a middle moderate position. The Republicans were like, oh crap, what are you doing, dude? That's crazy, that's ludicrous. And then the Democrats say, see, I told you he was a sellout. What was happening was by this happening here on either side, Trump grabs the middle. He's on record for grabbing the middle. The Democrats, because they hate Trump, they can't be in the middle. He offered Chuck Schumer and those guys a deal on DACA. They said, hell no. They moved to the left, which they do, because they hate Trump. In doing so, alienating the base, creating a walk-away movement, creating people who are just dissatisfied, whatever, pushing a leftist agenda on them and having to defend it because they're anti-Trump. So Trump comes in the middle. He grabs Social Security, he grabs Medicaid, he grabs healthcare, he grabs he grabs criminal justice, and all this. And that's a position that Democrats have always held. It's a position that the Republicans have never even thought about grabbing. But because of that, he's grabbing all these moderates, all these people who are saying, what the heck's going on? This narrative does not fit what they're saying over here. What they are seeing over here is seeing hatred, they're seeing people beating on doors, seeing white powders like congressmen, yelling, screaming, acting like total idiots, no due process, nothing. They're seeing just total insanity. People getting beat up, spit at, whatever. They're seeing people like Lindsey Graham, who've been considered not on our side for many years, coming up and vehemently opposing and vehemently putting his finger in their face and telling me you guys are wrong, and becoming a hero because of it. Susan Collins becoming a hero because of it. And Jeff Flake, what do you want to say about Jeff Flake? But if he doesn't give us that week, the FBI investigation, then it would have been crazy. So it actually worked out in our favor. And so that's that. And so what he's doing is he's draining the swamp that way. And what happens is you can have a guy named Robert Mueller who's wrapping up his investigation. And if we didn't have Robert Mueller, then guess what? We would have conspiracy after conspiracy after conspiracy of what Trump's doing, why he's not doing it, why isn't there a general counsel, why isn't this, why isn't there a special prosecutor, what's Trump hiding, on and on and on. We would have lost the House and the Senate. So thank you, Democrats, for Robert Mueller. And so Trump is draining the swamp because he knows the puzzle pieces and how it's going to fit. He doesn't care if you put the edge in first. He doesn't care if you put the apple together first, then the grass later. He doesn't care. As long as at the end of the day, that puzzle's done. And that's what he's looking 6 years down the road. That's what Trump's all about. That's what he's doing. And you can't judge Trump by what you see him doing. You have to see where he's going and what the results are. And so that's what Trump's all about. He wants the results. He doesn't really care. And that's the beauty of being that's the beauty of not being an ideologue. That's the beauty of not being controlled by PACs, special interests, and lobbyists. He got rid of lobbyists like the first week he was in office. It dried up the soft money coming in overseas. You had trade dollars that were coming in overseas because of the trade policies that we had. He dried that up through his trade policies, and now that money is not coming in. So now these Republicans can now have some gumption because their money isn't coming in. That's been mitigated against these lobbyists. So now they can act more like Republicans versus acting like liberals. And so that's why you see Susan Collins and these guys, Lindsey Graham having the gumption, because not only about the money, it's also about the fact that Trump is giving them leadership. He's giving them cover to act like Republicans for a change. He's like, look, shoot the arrows at me, right? Shoot them at me. You guys do what you want to do, but they'll shoot them at me. I'll take all the flack you want. I can take it. You guys do what you do. Hide under me, and I'll handle this. Okay. So let me jump into real quickly about what happened to me yesterday at the voting booth. All right. So I go to I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I go downtown to the early voting, which is at the Guilford Courthouse downtown, the old courthouse. I take off work for lunch, park, put a quarter in, walk across the sidewalk, and I go through the barrage of people who are handing out stuff. So I'm very polite, and I'm already prepared of what I'm going to say if they ask me a question. So I say, okay, fine. So I get some information from one guy. I get some information from another person. And so finally I say, what's going on, guys? He said, yeah, so we want you guys, they're telling me, they're trying to tell me who they voted for. And one guy actually looks at my ballot. I have a paper ballot that's printed out because I want to make sure I know who my conservative judges are. He says, okay, yeah, I see this here, this and this. And I'm like, well, sir, I'm going to vote straight ticket Republican. And the guy behind me was a black guy, right? And so he looked at me like, oh, okay, really? And the white judge was like, oh crap, here we go. So I just walked into the polling place. Now, because I live in a different county, I really couldn't vote there, which is fine. I had to vote somewhere else because I re-registered as a Forsyth County resident, but because I'm not in that county, you can't do it there. I didn't realize. I thought you could maybe vote there anyway, but you can't. So anyway, I left. So as I'm walking out of the polling place, make a right, the gentleman flags me down and says, yo, brother. So, man, tell me, yo, man, why are you voting straight ticket Republican? I'm like, well, I said, well, you know what? I feel that unborn children have rights. I think they have the right to grow up. I said, my birthday is the same day as Roe versus Wade. And then I said, and I'm adopted. So, and then I pointed the argument right at him. And this is what you need to do. You need to find out who your audience is and talk directly to them and what's important to them. So I'm talking to a black man, right? And I know where he's coming from. So I said, you know what? And I'm also upset that nearly half the black population has been killed through abortion since 1973. He looked at me and was like, oh, so that's the reason why you vote Republican? I said, well, that's a big reason. I said, but there are other reasons. He said, like what? I said, well, let's take, for example, I don't like the fact that black people have been here for 200 years, worked, slaved, died, toiled, put a stake in this country, and made a name for themselves and helped this country become great. But yet you have people who can come here illegally and get those benefits. And I looked at him, it's like a brand new thought was happening. He looked at me and was like, wow, that's some good point. That's a good point. I said, yeah. And see, the thing was, this guy had been seeing black conservatives come in there all throughout the day. Now, he may not vote first time, he may never vote, but he had a walk away moment, and he was. And so if you frame your argument as basic lowest common denominator about freedom, about liberty, and about just throwing a couple of hypocritical things as well, just for fun, but you can really get people to think if they're rational, if they want to think. And here's what I'm finding: people don't want to engage because they know in the back of their mind that they don't have the right kind of argument. But they're upset, they're angry, they don't know why. They don't know why because they don't have a worldview that gets them out of this crazy mentality that they've been talked to about. They can't go to Republicans because they think they're racist. They can't go to Democrats because they think they don't speak for them. So they're internally insane, and it just drives them crazy, which is why they blurt things out with no argument behind it, but with passion. But if they can just break that wall and understand, hey, dude, it's okay. We were all there. And this hashtag walk away movement, which is happening next weekend, which I will be up there. After I give a tour at Gettysburg, I give tours. If you are anybody interested, comment. I'm doing one on December 1st, have an open slot. But as I do my tour in Gettysburg, and they're free, I'm going to go to the walkaway march and be with amongst other people that have gone through the same experiences. Okay, and so that's it. So I hope everyone here has a wonderful weekend. Like and subscribe to my channel. I have some videos there for my walkaway support series. I have a video on a Medal Honor winner, and I have some things there as well. Look for new content. I'm going to get at least 3 new videos up there. I have some walkaway content coming up. I have a live stream that I'm going to set up with some people, a live video. I have all that done, but I'm having some technical difficulties with my new arrangement. When Michael hit, I had to do some things with some flooding in the basement, and that kind of messed my whole green screen studio area up. But anyway, that will happen pretty soon. But anyway, everybody be blessed. Have a great weekend, and get out there and vote, and take a friend and tell a friend, and have at it. So until next time, God bless.